Okay. So, I haven't recorded videos in a long time. I've done a couple videos recently, but I thought I would do a food video today. I really like to eat weird food. I like to take two foods and like combine them together and make something like super strange. So today I'm actually making cheeseburger sushi. So instead of your raw fish, you'll be using hamburger meat inside of the sushi. And I will warn you before I start this video, I've got my toddler here. He's eating some graham cracker, so he might be okay for a minute. And at any second, my wife's going to come home and totally disrupt everything, and I'm going to have to pause. But until then, the first thing we want to do, just like with any recipe, is you want to get like everything out. You don't want to have something hidden away that you might want to use for the recipe. So for cheeseburger sushi, really simple list of ingredients. Pretty much anything you would need for a cheeseburger, but instead of a bun, we're going to use the roasted nori seaweed rolling paper. So we've got ground beef, cheese. I'm using kale instead of lettuce. Roasted seaweed, avocado, tomatoes, mayonnaise, mustard, ketchup, Worcestershire sauce, panko, breadcrumbs, salt, and pepper. That's everything I'm going to be using today. Oh, and an egg. You've got to put an egg into the burger meat. So, yeah, we've got an egg. So, the first thing you want to do is make the burger meat. Now, there's lots of different ways you can make burger meat. For me, I like to go super, super simple. I like to do just egg, a little bit of breadcrumbs, and some Worcestershire sauce and salt and pepper, and that's it. This is a pound of burger meat, which, you know, for my small family might actually be a lot. We will probably not use all of the meat, or, you know, however many burger sushi rolls I make, we're probably not going to eat all of it. So I've just got a bowl here. I'm going to put the burger meat into the bowl. You want to get a good ratio of fat into your burger meat because you want it to hold together just like a cheeseburger. You want it to be super tasty. So what am I doing? Okay, an egg. Cracking an egg. I've got a place over here. I'm just putting weird gross stuff. Rinse any raw egg off your hands. Great. Get my trusty towel here. Put it over my shoulder to wipe my hands on. There we go. Salt and pepper. I've got these crankers for a pound. I'm going to do about 7 cranks. Okay, I'll do 8 cranks for the salt, 8 cranks for the pepper. Salt and pepper, that's right, buddy. You want to hold it? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My kid loves to hold these, the salt and pepper shakers. I don't know why. He likes to lick the salt off of the salt shaker. Worcestershire sauce. I'm putting about a tablespoon in here. I just eyeball it because that's how I am, but you probably want to just measure that out. And then, look at me. I did not pull all of my ingredients down, so my panko is way in the top of my cupboard. You can use any kind of breadcrumb here. I just happen to already have some panko, but you could use, like I said, any kind of breadcrumb. You could even use seasoned breadcrumbs, and then your burger's got some seasoning in it. So I'm just putting like a handful, just a handful in there. Not much, you don't need much. And then I've got a pan here that I use at lunchtime to make a grilled cheese sandwich. So it's just got a little bit of butter and breadcrumbs on this spatula and in this pan. So, you know, it's my own food. If I was cooking for other people, I would wash this probably, these breadcrumbs and this butter, but because that's my dog, he's jingling the bell to go outside, so I guess I'll let him outside. Okay, let the dogs out. So what I've got now is this bowl with everything in it that I'm going to want in my burger. I've got this pan, and you can totally mix it with your fingers. I'm going to try to mix it with a spoon instead of mixing it with my fingers. Oh my gosh, do you know what I didn't do? I didn't start the rice. So I have a rice cooker. I'm going to do a cup of rice, just 1 cup of rice. I'm not going to use that much rice. Right now my wife has gestational diabetes, so she's about 9 months pregnant. Gonna have that baby any day. So she can't eat too much rice. And really, like, the burger is going to be the star of this show anyway, but you want some rice in there. So I've got a rice cooker. If you don't have a rice cooker, start some rice on the stove. Just follow the instructions. Like I said, you know, between 1 and 2 cups of rice, and you'll want to use sushi rice, or a short grain white rice. And once the rice is made, you're going to want to put it in a bowl and mix it with a little bit of vinegar. So I'm going to pause again while I make the rice. Okay, so I've got some rice cooking. I did 1.5 cups. Okay. Yes, buddy. So now I'm just going to mix my burger meat up. I'm using a spoon to mix it up, but I'm going to have to use my hands and to shape it into the shapes that I want it to be in. And if you don't like the idea of that, because it's very fatty, so it's going to stick on your hands, like, that's just gonna happen. And if you don't like the idea of that, I really suggest, like, wearing some gloves. And like I said, you know, look up whatever burger recipe you like. This is just the one that I like, but you can add garlic powder. You could add oregano, Italian seasonings. You could add, you know, some Asian inspired flavors, since it's going to be like sushi, instead of doing the Worcestershire. It's just the flavor that I like on beef. So I've got it pretty good and mixed now. Everything's like looking really homogeneous. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the amount, so it's about 1 pound. It's going to make about 5 burgers. 5 to 6 burgers. So I'm going to take about what a patty would be here. 1 burger patty. Now this is going to be for sushi. We can't do it in a like burger shape. So I'm going to be forming it kind of like Play-Doh here. And you'll want to measure it against the width of the nori, because first of all, you don't want it to be longer than the nori when it's done cooking, but before it cooks. So I'm just placing it in the pan here, and I'm rolling it back and forth to kind of roll out this like long cylindrical shape. Now it's going to shrink down when it cooks. So when you first measure it out, you want it to be longer than the nori. You don't want it to be the exact same width of the nori when you're starting out. You have to expect that it's going to shrink down. Here it is. My long, weird, thin. Now it's about 1 inch thick cylinder, and I'm going to go ahead and make some others of those. Like I said, you want it to be longer than the nori, but not too long because you want it to shrink down to fit inside of it, but not too short because it's going to shrink down, and if you go too short, then you're going to have a lot of space in your sushi roll, and that's not going to be as fun to eat. You'll just be eating a lot of, like, empty nori, I guess. My kid wanted, he saw the mustard, and he got super excited, so I had to give him a little plate of mustard there with some chips, and that's what he's munching on as a little snack. This is definitely the kind of dinner that makes me hungry while I'm making it. So, don't worry if your little cylinders of beef fall apart, like separate. When the meat cooks, it might cook together. They might hold their shape, and also, you know, when it lays down in the sushi roll, you're gonna end up cutting it anyway. So don't like stress out about it holding its shape and staying, you know, exactly proportional or exactly the way you want it. Like, it's okay for it to not be perfect. And I think that's like the main thing we have to remember with cooking as like amateur chefs, home chefs. You know, I watch a lot of cooking shows, and especially the competition cooking shows, like, people are really trying to be perfect, and if they're not trying to be perfect, the chefs, the mentors or whatever, are really trying to teach them better ways to be perfect and to perfect their craft. Even the home cooks, you know, even the ones who aren't people that are gonna end up in like a career in restaurants or whatever. So this little bit right here, I'm actually having a little trouble mixing because it looks like there was some egg white here that didn't quite get mixed into the rest of it, and so it's making it just like a little extra slimy. What'd you say? You see an airplane? Airplane right here in the kitchen, folks. Heard it here first. So that's the burger, and I'm gonna cook it in a pan on medium heat, and you're gonna have to turn it really, really carefully with a spatula. You might even want to use 2 spatulas while you're cooking it on medium heat. And just like a few minutes on all 4 sides. It's not gonna cook very long total. It's not.
Flat cheese.
What? Crunchies? Captain Crunch cereal? Is that what you see on top of the fridge? Captain Crunch cereal on top of the fridge. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. So, I don't know exactly how many minutes. It's really going to depend on how thick your meat is, how hot your pan is. And again, this is fatty meat. You do not have to put any oil in the pan. In fact, I really highly recommend you don't, or your burgers will be way too greasy. So, I've got all of my burger rolled out here. I'm just shaping this last one with my fingers. I guess I have one more, don't I? Trying to move it all so I can fit it all in the pan and do it all in one go. And, you know, yeah, it's just like bacon. It's gonna shrink down. It's gonna shrink down in the pan. So if they're kind of crowding each other as they cook, they will shrink up and take up less space, and that's gonna be make it easier actually to flip it. So again, like, don't stress out about it being crowded in the pan, because even as they cook, they're going to shrink down and you're going to end up with more and more space. So I'm going to go ahead and pause right here, and then when I get to the point where my burger is just about done, I will start up again. And, you know, you're going to have to, like I said, be really careful when you flip it. You might want to use tongs, you might want to use a spatula, just like figure out what's going to work best for you, because you really want to be careful when you flip it. That's going to be the hardest part, is to keep it in that cylinder shape while it's cooking. Now it's okay if it breaks, because like I said, you're going to cut up the sushi, but it's gonna roll so much nicer if it's one big tube of meat. So we turned our one big tube of meat into 5 smaller tubes of meat, and cook them in the pan over medium heat, as well done as you like your burgers. A couple minutes on all 4 sides as you rotate it. Okay, so in an effort to get everything to come out on time, I actually am going to do it a little bit differently than I said. So I said that I was going to start this other prep part when my meat was done cooking, but I'm going to do this other prep part while my meat is cooking, and that's just going to save some time. Hopefully by the time it's all done, the rice will be done, and so everything will be done at the same time. I will mix my rice up with a little bit of vinegar, be able to put it in the nori, and make my rolls while things are still kind of hot. So I've got a plate here. I'm going to cut up a bunch of stuff and put it on the plate, and that's going to be sort of what they call mise en place, which is it's just my stuff being all ready. It's just everything I have that I'm going to use is chopped, it's prepped, it's where it needs to be. So the first thing I'm going to do is some cheese. So I'm going to cut just a few sticks of cheese. Now you could use mozzarella cheese. This is some white cheddar cheese. You could use provolone. You can literally use any cheese you want, whatever kind of burger you're going for. So I just cut some squares, and then I'm going to cut them so you can see. This is about what they look like. It's about 1/2 inch wide, pretty thin, about the length of my finger here, and I think it should take about 2 or 3 of those, measuring them against my meat, per roll. 3 things of cheese, three of these pieces of cheese. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in the end, I should have about 15 of those pieces. Some of them are cut a little wonky, a little thinner, a little shorter, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. I'm just going to keep them on my plate here so that I am all organized when it is time to do the cheese. And now I can wrap my cheese back up, stick that in the fridge, stick that back in the fridge. I'm going to save the avocado for last, and also if you're doing tomatoes, I would do the tomatoes even after the avocado. So I'm not doing tomatoes, but I am going to do some pickles, about 1 pickle per roll, and I'm not going to do every roll, so I'm just going to do 3 pickles. These are little snacking mini kosher dill. You could also just use relish, sweet relish, or dill relish, and I'm just going to cut them lengthwise into quarters, my pickles. And I like to use the little ones because they are so much smaller than the big ones when I go to put them in the roll, they're just going to be easier to handle. So I've got 3 rolls worth of that, because again, like I said, I'm not going to put the pickle in every roll. And then I've got some of this purple kale, and again, I'm not going to put it in every roll, So I'm just going to break off a couple of leaves. I'm going to cut down across on either side of the spine because I want to cut that stem out. The stem is going to be really hard to roll in the sushi, so I just kind of want to cut it out. And here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 nice pieces of kale. Now, my burger looks like it's about ready to flip, so let me see if I can get this positioned in a different spot so that it's plugged in. Unplug it. You can see what I am doing. Okay. Okay. So my burger's cooked on one side. I want to roll it. I want to flip it. I want to make sure that the pan is cooking everything evenly. I'm just really carefully and gently going to slide all my burger pieces down, crowded on one end. Sushi! That's right, buddy. Mom was making sushi. Cheeseburger sushi. Okay. Now, I would recommend probably using 2 spatulas to flip this. Chips? I think he's saying chips. I'm not sure. Or a pair of tongs. So I'm going to go under the burger on one side with the spatula. And because it's so fatty, it's not sticking. So if it's sticking, something's wrong. It's either turned up too high or you got the wrong kind of burger meat. And that was it. Flipped. And because I have all this nice space here between the patties, when they flip, they've got enough room. And as they're cooking, I can tell that they have shrunk down a little bit, and I want to get my nori and just measure them. Just, there's nothing I can do at this point because they've already cooked down. I could take my spatula and kind of flatten them out, but you'll lose a lot of the good juices and stuff if you do that. So, okay, so I have those flipped. Get my nori here. And that looks about perfect. I've got one that might be a little bit too long and one that might be just the tiniest bit too short. And it's not even a big deal. So next we are going to